going on, boys and girls? Welcome to another episode here on Isles Talk. My name is Paul Kreischer. I'm going solo tonight. Listen, it's the end of the season. Everyone's done with hockey for the most part, unless you're watching the playoffs, like everyone else. But listen, this is a fun time for me. I have always enjoyed following and covering the draft for Isles Talk, and really, it gives me a better understanding of where Garth Snow went, where Lou Lamoriello was going. Gary's under the weather. Gary and Joe are both under the weather, so we'll take care of them. We'll take care of them a little later on. But no, for me, I've been covering the draft now since 2008, when I first started writing, and even before Isles Talk. So over the years, I've met a lot of people. I've met scouts. I've met people who cover the draft. I've made a lot of great friends. I've learned a lot. And one of the reasons why I continue to do this is because, believe it or not, other than trading away the first round draft picks, the Islanders have been doing exactly what I was hoping that they would be doing. So the information I've been able to give you guys over the last couple of years have been accurate, and it's been a lot of fun in that case. So what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks heading into the draft, um, we're going to take a couple of steps back, and we're going to take a look at the organization as a whole. We're talking Islanders, we're talking Bridgeport, we're talking Worcester, a little bit of the European, a little more in the college because that's where those prospects are. And I'm going to show you guys how things have changed the last couple of years, not just with the Islanders, but with a lot of the other teams. For me, prospect rankings, they're not a thing of the past, but they're changing. You're going to see a lot of evolving when it comes to drafting, when it comes to free agency. I think you're going to see a lot of changes because of the things we've talked about before, with expansion, uh, you know, the quality of the teams from some of these, and some of the players and the drafting and whatnot. Um, so right off the bat, um, we cannot start on the draft without saying a proper goodbye to the um, 2023-2024 New York Islanders. And maddening season, maddening season. Like there's nothing to ever describe what Islander fans went through this year, even the players. No, calm yourself, calm yourself, calm yourself. We'll get to Jeffries later. Okay. Um, this was a very tough season on a lot of Islander fans. And I was listening to a lot of the going away speeches. I listened to Lou, I listened to Patrick. But I got to tell you, this one hit me a little bit. Ryan Pullock, we're right there. Acknowledges others may not see that. Says team is capable of a long run. So, yeah, it is draft time. So, Ryan Pullock is my unofficial guest here on Isles Talk. And I was like, I love the optimism. Okay. But it's like, how are the Islanders going to get there? Um, no, Matthew, I'm actually going to disagree with that, believe it or not. And I'm going to say that because the draft, Lou's drafting is also in his trading of the first rounds, they're in sync. They're kind of doing everything together. Okay. And no, Pollock isn't wrong. Believe it or not, Pollock isn't wrong. Okay. I know some of you have brought up the Rangers and Carolina series. I'm going to say that right now. Watch that Ranger Carolina series with a lot of interest because if the Rangers give Carolina a 4-1 beatdown, Islander fans, you may have something to think about over the summer. Very true, Vin, or Mike, excuse me. Okay, but I'm gonna give you reasons, not necessarily for optimism, but I'm gonna have you guys be like, well, okay, we'll think about it. Just think about this one for a moment. What Lou has done with his drafting, and this goes all the way back to 2018, is that he's been drafting very younger players early in the draft years. But what he's been doing is that he's been drafting their floor potential. And what that means is he's not, he never went for the home run, right? He never went for the big swing. Noah Dobson was a great swing, but Noah Dobson had a lot of stuff, had a lot of potential with him anyway. What Lou has done over the last 5 years is that he's drafting players with a moderate floor. Okay. For example, Kyle McLean, when they signed him, we all kind of knew he was going to be that replacement for Casey Zizekas. Lo and behold, there he is coming in this year and making an impact. That's what Lou has done over the last couple of seasons. He's bringing in players who don't have that big star potential, but they can make it into the NHL. And as a result of that, yeah, Snow is there. And believe me, Dobson fell into their laps. Dobson and Wallstrom, they both fell into their laps. It doesn't matter who's there or not. Okay. Thank God they fell in our laps. Okay. However, getting back to the we are too inconsistent, there is truth to that. However, when I do the point pace, there's another thing I include that I don't tell you guys. And this is one of the reasons why I don't count the Islanders out of a playoff hunt just yet. I can knock them out by the day, but I didn't have to do that this year. Back in 21-22, the Islanders' worst part of their season was games 11 through 20, and they ended up on a pace for 62 points. Their best mark was the first 10 games when they were on pace for 107. That's inconsistency. That's wretched. Okay. That's bad. Okay. But again, those were the COVID years. That was a lot, not the COVID seasons, excuse me. That's when the Islanders got hit with COVID. We were playing Bridgeport instead of New York Islanders. It was right before UBS Arena, all those away games. Yeah, we'll get to that in water cooler talk. Okay. 62 points anytime during the season when you're on that kind of a pace, you're pretty much eliminated. I don't want to tell you guys that, but that's usually the case. The following season, when everyone's healthy and we know UBS is now open, ready to go for a full season, the Islanders' best pace was at 98. Their worst pace was when they were on pace for 85 points, and that was between games 42 and 51. 85. So the Islanders, they had their floor elevated. They didn't drop down to 62. It only went down to 85. Now, to Mike's credit, is that still inconsistent? Yes, it is. But 98 to 85 is a little more manageable. Now, what happened this season? The Islanders, again, in their first 10 games, they were on pace for 107 points. Their worst pace of the season was 87, and that was for a whopping 3 days. For the most part, they were on an 88-point pace for most of the season, except for that loss to New Jersey. That's when they were on pace for 87 points. They didn't play for 3 days. Guess what? Philly started losing, and the Islanders went on a tear. So the Islanders again have raised, you know, their floor. once again. Now, where do we get up to that 107 mark? Where do we get up to what Ryan Pulock said in the fact that, you know, they're right there? We're right there. How do we get to that? Well, here's something that I did actually cover during the show over the course of the season. Okay. You guys remember when I said the Islanders, when they held their opponents to 3 goals or less? You remember that time? Okay. It was a very big stat. I didn't realize how big of a stat that was until I actually looked upon Patrick Waugh's system or Patrick Waugh's tenure. Okay. For the months of February, March, and April. Yeah, that's going to change, Brian. Watch this. Watch this now. Hold on. Stay with me. February, March, and April. You give Patrick Waugh 2 weeks in January to mix things up. Okay. You have plenty of practice time. Okay. The Islanders allowed 3 goals or less in 20 of the 32 remaining games, which is good for 63%. Okay. Their record of those 20 games when the Islanders let up 3 goals or less, 3 goals, mind you, 17, 1, and 2. Let me repeat that. When the Islanders gave up 3 goals or less under Patrick Waugh's tenure from February, March, and April, they went 20 for 32. That's a 63%. Their record for those 20 games was 17, 1, and 2. Seventeen, 1, and 2. What does that do for next season? From a defensive standpoint, you're asking Sorokin, you're asking Varlamov to pitch you 2.67, 2.7. They're giving up 225 goals. 3 goals or less for the most part. They play average hockey. I'm not saying they're going to win 63% of the games. However, if Patrick Waugh's defensive structure is set for a full season, he brings in the right, yeah, Randy. I'm gonna hold off on that, Nick. Not yet. Only because I don't think they're gonna be a year older and slower like the way you want to bring it out as. Okay. I think the Islanders are gonna get younger, much quicker. Okay. The Islanders are only asking their goaltenders to play average. That puts them fairly close to what, 97 to 102 points? Average goaltending. But that's just with Patrick Waugh working his magic. This season, the Islanders ended up scoring 245 goals. A little low for our standards here. We were all expecting a little higher. I was looking for 255, 260, maybe even a little higher. Okay. You're now losing Sebastian Aho. We'll have fun for now because it's May and it's not in the playoffs. You're losing Matt Martin. You can still keep Fashing. You can still keep Wallstrom. You can still keep Gauthier. They're all your regular extra forward depth, right? If the Islanders can bring back Mike Riley, Wonderful. But you've got 2 open roster spots, and even if you don't include Gauthier, Fasching, and Wallstrom, you're basically taking away 12 goals there. You're looking at a team that's got 230 goals heading into next season, and you still need that first line forward. So you're basically looking for a 20 to 25 goal scorer that puts you in that mid 250s. And Lord knows what happens to Horvat and Barzell if they can find a winger to complement them. Younger, faster, a full season of Kyle McLean, it's there. And there's enough depth at the moment that, I can't see, unless again, it's a complete rash of injuries. I can't see the Islanders, losing horribly. Bingo. I agree with that. Scott Mayfield didn't score any goals. Adam Pelech and Scott Mayfield combined for 1 goal this season. Not 1 goal. Just 1 goal. No, I don't know if they're going to be better yet, Frank. I don't know. That's the glorious part of this of the summer. We haven't made any moves yet. However, when was the last time we could actually talk about the Islanders allowing 3 goals or less and having a winning percentage like that? We have never done that, folks. Never. Granted, is it 52 games? Yeah. Would we have to plug in Sorokin every once in a while? Would he have done that great? Probably not. So the percentage goes down. But you understand where I'm coming from here. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. No, Gensel doesn't make sense. Gensel's going to get paid a lot of cash. And for those of you who do not know, I believe Gensel was part of that 2013 draft. The Islanders in the 3rd round traded Taylor Camerata. Okay. Guess who was picked right after Taylor Camerata? Jake Gensel. You're welcome. The Islanders had their chance. All right, Nick, I'll play this game. And I will definitely play it next week because that's part of the draft. Okay. If you take a look at Jack Eichel, if it's about the Stanley Cup, boys and girls, Jack Eichel won a cup 9 years from his draft. Problem is, he didn't do it with Buffalo. He got traded. Connor McDavid still has not won a cup. Connor McDavid's, coming close now to 9 years as well. Sidney Crosby didn't win 2 cups until what? Year 9, year 10. Okay. If you want to completely demolish this team, you are looking at a 10-year hope of winning the Stanley Cup. 10 years. Do you really want that? 10 years. Go ahead. Because guess what? You get rid of the old guys, Barzell's not going to want to play. If Barzell doesn't want to be here, neither will Bo Horvat. You will have to literally start all over again. Do you really want to wait another 10 years for any hope of a Stanley Cup? You'll take it. You'll take a 10-year wait for a Stanley Cup. with no guarantees of playoffs. You really want that, Nick? Come on. True. Guys, this is not my first time doing the draft. It's not. It's not my first rodeo. If you want to tear everything down, you're looking at a minimum 10 years, and that's hoping. Olison is a possibility. Henrique is a possibility. I don't know if they want to go that old yet. Okay, so now what does this do in terms of the draft? Let's bring this back to the draft here. You know the Islanders need 20, 25 goal scorer, probably someone more than 25. Okay. However, when it comes to this draft, ladies and gentlemen, and where the Islanders are currently at 18, okay, the draft rankings change every day, definitely every week, especially after the playoffs are over with. The biggest one is the NHL Combine, which isn't until all the playoffs are done and over with. However, in listening to a lot of people who cover the draft extensively, from reading everything that I've researched so far, when it comes to the top 16, top 15, maybe even top 14, we're still trying to work that out. Okay. There's a little bit of a drop. Call it after 14. Okay. That seems to be the consensus. Okay. And when I mean by drop after 14, I'm talking like this. Okay. That's a drop. Maybe not as bad as I'm making it out to be, but there is a drop. And what does that mean when there's a drop after a certain number? Okay. Depending on the team that that player gets drafted on, anyone say in the top 11, 12, 13, if they probably have about 3 years before they make it to the NHL, depending on the team that they're drafted in. When it comes down to where the Islanders are, you're probably looking at a solid 4 years, maybe five. Okay. Now, I know a lot of you are looking to trade JG Pajot. It may take the first round pick because he does have another year on his contract. The thing is, would a first round draft pick get you a 2025 goal scorer? Probably not with the 18th pick. Okay. Probably not with the 18th pick. So right off the bat, are we looking at Alexander Romanov? Are we looking at a Bo Horvat trade? Probably not. Well, actually, we could be looking at a Bo Horvat trade. We could trade, picks, prospects, to grab him. Definitely not Alexander Romanov. I don't think it would be a JG Pajot or a Kyle Palmieri. So even at 18, I don't know who the Islanders would be targeting at the moment. Um, yeah, I'm starting to read that. I'm starting to read that, Randy. There isn't a difference between 16 and 40. I'm kind of hoping that changes. What I really would like to see moving forward here, um, I would like to see some value come to 18. And what do I mean by that? Is that say there's a player at 25, 26, 27. Okay. They have a phenomenal combine or they're finishing up their playoffs. And all of a sudden, they're moving up in the rankings. They crack the top, they're in the the lower 20s. They're moving up into the teens. That would probably add value to the Islanders pick at 18. Okay. So again, it's not an Alexander Romanov trade, but could I see Lou making a deal at the trade deadline, not trade deadline, at draft day? Possibly. Possibly. So you have that. Now, here's the other situation. I've compared this draft right now to a little bit like 2019. You could see a player get drafted by the Islanders from Europe. I don't know who it would be, but maybe they get treated like Simon Holmstrom. Just bring him over after he's drafted. Maybe a season over in Europe. Let him get acclimated and whatnot, and then bring him over. At that point, I don't think it would take that player 4 years. It may take that person 3.5 years. Because the system, believe it or not, that the Islanders have, no, there's not a lot of star power with these prospects. But what the Islanders do have moving forward, and we're going to talk about it in depth over the next couple of weeks, is that these kids that are being drafted are coming over. So there's a level of competition, whether it's Worcester, whether it's Bridgeport, where future first round picks moving forward are going to have to earn their time if they want to play in New York, which is what every fan who likes to see the draft, who are fans of Bill Torrey, who are fans of Jimmy Devellano, who are fans of Dave Poyle, Barry Trotz, Steve Eiserman, Jim Nill. Those who want to see those prospects start from the bottom and work their way up, this is what you want. And this is what this future draft pick is going to have for the Islanders. He's going to have a difficult time making it to the Islanders because he's going to have to earn it. So, no. Are there a lot of deep prospects coming in? No. No, I'll be the first one to tell you that. However, will it be probably a very difficult time for future first rounders to come in? Absolutely. 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 All right, Nick. Sometimes we just got to agree to disagree. I listen. If the Islanders were injured, and and Lou, well, first off, let's backtrack. If the Islanders weren't trying to make up the money from Nassau Coliseum, and we just had an injured season, sure, I wouldn't mind drafting in the first top 10 or in the top 12 for that fact. That I would not have even blinked an eye. I'd be happy. Beautiful. That's how you get younger quicker. There's a lot of draft picks going there, but we're not. The Islanders still had to make up some money there. So, all right. So let's talk about this. Patrick Waugh got this team on a winning streak with 3 goals or less from the defense and their goaltending. I do not think Waugh wants to run this back again. I expect changes to have the change DNA of the team. I'm going to agree with that. But again, I to the people I've talked to, a lot of them say the free agency move was getting Patrick Waugh in this system. That's not to say the Islanders are going to run the same team back because I don't think this was you know, I, I don't think they all fit Patrick's system. We know that. We can all agree on that. I think what he did, not only was he coaching, but he was scouting to figure out, okay, who works with my system? Who can I really get the most out of? And I think he's figured that out, which is why he's involved with Lou. So instilling his plan, bringing in new coaches for all we know, that would also help. Um, there's a lot that Patrick Waugh has to do. But again, under a full season, I can't see the Islanders floundering. At the absolute worst, I can't see them floundering. Bridgeport has stunk for years. They could use some competition. I don't know if you guys remember this because this has always been my pet peeve. The Bridgeport Islanders, the Bridgeport Sound Tigers have not gotten past the first round of the Calder Cup playoffs, I think, since 2002 or 2003. We're literally going on 20 years. 20 years without getting past the first round in Bridgeport. Yeah, Hawk, you know what? Zadorov is money, and will Hornets, so will Utah drive up that market? Maybe. Yeah, Utah's gonna drive up that market irregardless. I don't know. For me, and I'll get into the free agency later on, but because of what the Islanders currently have in their system and what they have to do to improve the team, I don't see them going big game hunting. Um, I don't think they have to. I mean, we're literally talking a 2025 goal scorer. 2025 goal scorer, mid 20s somewhere on a team where, they're just not going to resign because the other teams have, they need more room. Doesn't have to be 25, could be 27, 28. You guys know where I'm going with this. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the problem. The younger teams are going to continue to underachieve until they bring in the old guys to balance everything out. You need old guys, fans. You just need them, boys and girls. Juan knows the junior players. That's correct. But the Islanders are filling the cupboard with some decent prospects that are, in all honesty, projects. The competition's going to be better, but you're looking to get your Kyle McLeans. You're going to get a couple of mid six forwards. That was by design. You already traded your first picks for Bo Horvat. You got your top four defensemen in Romanov. Believe it or not, I wouldn't be surprised if Simon Holmstrom was tested on the second line to start the season with Brock and Palmieri. Wouldn't shock me. Time to move on from Martin and Clutter. Out of the two, I'm probably going to go with Clutter. I think he comes back. But no, this is all part of the plan here. 1 week I'm going to say, you know, they could use that trade in a pick or package for that top left winger. The next week I may be like, it looks like they're going to draft him, whatever. And I'm going to let you guys know, how they move up any of these prospects if they're really, really decent, if there's a sneaky good pick. I'm even going to take a deeper look into the second round as well because there's a couple, like Randy said, 16 through 40. There's not much of a difference, and I think the Islanders can maybe sneak another talented second rounder in there. I'm not against that. Yeah, since 2003. Yeah, it's been a very long time. And again, I know I think they did that the playoff round 2 seasons ago or something else like that. That was a play-in round. I don't count that. Sorry. I don't count that play-in round. You got to go at least 5, 6, 7 games. Don't go 3. I don't count that. But no, I know where you're going with that, David. That is partially true. Yeah, that was the shortened 3-game best of 3. I don't count that. But yes, that would be true. So I do stand corrected, but 3-game series for me, I got to see them go 5 minimum. Stamkos, no. So that's putting a little bit of a bow and packaging this 2003, 2004 season. Um, I don't think the Islanders are going to get any worse. I hate to break it to the ones who want to completely dismantle this team. Um, the pieces that I was hoping would come into the minor leagues, they're all coming in. They just got to grow and develop a little bit longer, and I think they will. And I think the hope for me for these prospects is that they can come in and become that Kyle McLean, where they get recalled, they don't look out of place, and the Islanders don't have to scramble off the waiver wire for players like Mike Riley and Robert Bortuzzo. Don't get me wrong, Mike Riley's been great, But as an organization, you just want to start calling up kids to have them fill in that role. And the Islanders are they're close to that. And really, that's what you want to see. And moving forward here in this draft, um, whoever if the Islanders draft this pick, um, it's going to be much tougher for this incoming first round pick to make it to New York than it probably ever was. So, having said that, it is time for water cooler talk. Let's break out any questions, comments, concerns, even on some of the prospects. I can cover some of them here. Um, Give me your thoughts on the playoffs. And I'll tell you right now, I'm watching the Rangers in Carolina. Carolina's got what, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9 unrestricted free agents. If the Rangers hand them a smackdown, a 4-1 loss, series loss, um, I think there's going to be changes in Carolina, and I think that's going to benefit the Islanders. Florida scores 1-1. That's what I needed to see. The college kids. Well, look, there's only one college kid right now. Um, he's now with Bridgeport. It's Alex Jeffries. I've been saying him now for a couple of years. You guys know that. Um, is he close to NHL ready? Yes. Did he put up some decent numbers at the end of the season in Bridgeport? Yes. Was there any pressure in Bridgeport towards the end of the season? No. And that's the thing with me. I need to see these kids really thrive under pressure, some kind of pressure. And, that goes for most of the kids in Bridgeport. I think they all learned a great lesson this year. A lot of them was their first years, and we'll cover Bridgeport in a couple of weeks, but it's not on it's not a knock on any of the Bridgeport kids. There was just no pressure. There was no pressure to play. Thoughts on Truba hit? Listen, that's Truba. Are we really surprised? Yeah, or attempted hit. That's just Truba. He left his feet. That's obvious. Um, there was a hit to the head there. I don't know if if I don't know if that should have been called. I mean, there isn't really a penalty for a skate to the head, but he did kind of leave his feet. You probably could have called roughing on that, but it didn't happen. Brindamore going to Toronto if there's a vacancy. Listen, I don't remember Rod Brindamore getting past the second round, except maybe last year. Now you're going to send a team that can barely get out of the second round, if not the first round, all by themselves. You talk about that's a hex. That's a nasty combination. I don't know if I want to bring someone like Brindamore into Toronto. Yeah, I don't know if skate to the head counts. It should. Ah, McLean and Huda. Again, I think out of the two, I'm not sure about Huda. And we're all stating the obvious. You guys know this. I'm not even gonna, you guys are smart enough. You all know what the Islanders need at this point. If the Islanders can bring themselves in another winger to play with Horvat and Barzell, but who can also do some really good work on the power play, you may want to keep John McClain. The numbers were good on the power play this year, especially in the playoffs. When Bo Horvat recognizes, they kind of need a permanent first line left winger, that's not necessarily on McLean himself. But as for who, I don't know. That's on Patrick. And again, Patrick's been in juniors this entire time, except for now. I don't know who it would be. So that'll be interesting for me. Yeah, I agree. Maggio, Dufour, Jeffries, Justin Gill. And look, for some of them, and I'm going to go Jeffries, Justin Gill. I'm not putting any expectations on them. It's going to be their first full pro season. Um, the one person I think I am going to put a little pressure on is William DeFore. For me, William DeFore has got to show that he can dominate the American Hockey League. I think he's got a shot, an NHL ready shot. He has been working on his footwork. He has been working on his speed. He has been working on everything the Islanders have asked him to do. I think this is a season now where I would love to see him put it all together and rip up the American Hockey League. I would. Absolutely. Justin Gill right now is an overachiever. I'm sorry, an overager, playing in the Quebec Maritime Hockey League. He's still in the playoffs there. I believe he's in the finals. I can't remember the team. I can't believe I forgot the team. For me, Justin Gill is a good playmaking center. I don't know if he'll make it to the NHL. I think he's a solid top six forward in Bridgeport, no doubt. For how long, I don't know. Um, I like the combination of Jeffries, Gill, and Dufour next season. And honestly, just have Justin Gill pass the puck. He can score. He can do the power play. I think he's done some penalty killing time, but not much. Um, you put those three on a line, I'm going to be very excited just to watch them play. Will the Rangers advance to the Stanley Cup? I still don't think so. I still don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is that the Rangers are living and dying by their power play. At some point, that's going to get cold. And again, I've liked Carolina's game, believe it or not. They're if Carolina continues to play the way they're playing, I think they can take the Rangers to a 7-game series. I still think they can. I think if Carolina can continue to grind it out a little bit more with them, I don't think the Rangers can keep up. The Rangers are literally winning because of their power play. If Carolina stays out of the box without the refs interfering, I think Carolina can take out the Rangers. It's still Carolina's division to lose. Charles, that's a great question. He is my ultimate enigma. I think he told reporters the brace came off 6 weeks ago. So, I mean, for me right now, he is at 13th forward or 14th forward, depending on where Hudson Fashing is. If Kyle Palmieri gets injured, would I rather see Wallstrom or Dufour in there? It would be Wallstrom. And even if you look at the draft, the 2018 draft, Wallstrom is still right there. If he has the aha moment, if he puts in the work, and the Islanders keep him, he is going to be worthy of that top 10, top 11 pick that the Islanders had him at. The Islanders did not make a bad decision in drafting him. I think he needs to have that one hell of a year. And Wallstrom, for me, right now, he's kind of in a moment where I hope the Islanders don't let him go. Because if they do, we better get some kind of value back for him. The value for him right now is none, which is why it's going to be difficult for him to get traded. There is no value because of the injuries. But if he can come back ready for training camp, and if he's patient enough for that opportunity, I think you have something still. I think you have something in Wallstrom. What that is, I don't know yet. But it's got to be something. The kid's almost there. I mean, I could see him producing well on another team. I really would not like to see Oliver Wallstrom with a team like Boston. Absolutely not. I do not want to see him with a team like Tampa Bay. Um, I don't want to see him with a team like Colorado. Going to a team that's on a higher level. and then just watching him blossom, I would cringe. He did have a real good second half, and I agree with that, Brian. I got to watch all of Bridgeport's games as well. I completely agree. But again, for me, and again for everyone who's new here on Isles Talk, especially on the path to the draft, I am the harshest critic of all the prospects. I do that because I've learned my lessons. Um, I've learned about players that I have put too much fandom into the players, and I've overrated them, and I've looked foolish. I'll come out with some of those names later on. I've learned my lessons in those. Okay. For me, I want to see Maggio play without Ishakov. I want to see Maggio play under pressure. Okay. I didn't put any expectations on him this year because it's his first year. It's always that first transitional year. It's always tough on every player. So, but again, I'm expecting a little bit more out of Maggio next season as well, Brian. Maybe a little more weight, but again, I believe his dad's a personal trainer as well. I think Maggio will be set and ready to go. Look, if Wallstrom's a bye-bye, I'm alright with that to a degree. I don't want him on a really good team. I don't. If we put Wallstrom down with Anaheim, if we put Wallstrom with Chicago, um, you know what I mean? San Jose. Okay, okay, I'm good with that. If we put Wallstrom, oh, I hate to see Wallstrom with Boston. Oh, I think yeah, LA. Look, maybe. I used to want Arthur Kaliev from the 2019 draft, but from right now, from what I've been watching, reading, and listening to, Kaliev has less of a 200-foot game than Wallstrom does. So, again, depending on who's there in LA. Yeah, if you take War at his word, take into consideration that he was still recovering during the season and he shows it all coming together in camp, then I see him getting another shot. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. All right, so you guys are so worried about Noah Dobson. Um, you know, I 8 times 8 sounds right to me. Absolutely does. 8 times 8 sounds right. 8.5 sounds right to me too. That's fine. You know, you're still getting him until he's what, 32, 33. You can lock him up like that. Um, Wotherspoon, look, Wotherspoon hasn't really scored a goal in a professional seasons, whether it's AHL or NHL. Is he filling the role that's needed? Yes. And what you're going to find out throughout the next couple of weeks, boys and girls, is that that's exactly who the Islanders are drafting. They're drafting players who are just going to fill that emergency role or that bottom pair, bottom six roles. That's what they've been doing. But the Islanders are doing a good job of that. Wotherspoon is not Mike Riley. Trust me, getting Mike Riley and letting Wotherspoon go was the right move. I'll even take Sebastian Aho over Parker Wotherspoon, guys. Sorry. Okay, Sebastian Aho has more offense. That's what the Islanders needed. Two different players. You know that, Matt. You know, at you know, Clutterbuck and Martin are bottom pair, fourth line players, and Wallstrom's not. So, but I get it. It's age over youth. It's experience over youth. I get it. Maybe, maybe. Again, I would like to keep him. Again, it was a godsend that Kyle Palmieri stayed healthy. Really was. If Anders Lee gets injured, okay, you can move Enval to the left wing, Oliver Wallstrom to the right. Oliver Wallstrom can play a third line role. He can do that. There are other options in Kyle Palmieri that Oliver Wahlstrom has. Okay, so we'll go from there. But again, it's May 8th. We'll go from there. Hey, let's see what happens during training camp. Maybe there's a couple of injuries. That's what I mean. It's Wally is such an enigma for everybody. Everyone's making great points. If he's healthy, play the kid. But if the vets are healthy, they're going to get played too. So again, he's an enigma. Is there any trade value for him? Probably not at the moment. Yeah, yeah. He did impress in a short stint, and again, you guys know I've been trying to calm down with the pom poms and being that cheerleader for him because you guys I've been talking about him now for a couple of years, but I want to see how all of them play with a little more pressure, with the goal of bare minimum playoffs. But no, I do like Jeffries right now. Maggio will make the team going into training camp. Kind of tough to do when Pierre Enval is probably going to be a right winger on that third line. Um, I haven't seen enough of Maggio to put him making the team. I just haven't. Um, could he be a call up if he gets everything together? Sure, why not? I'm all for it. And that's what we're getting at, folks. Even when we're covering the Islanders prospects over the next couple of weeks, no, they're not star prospects, but could they fill in the roles now? Yeah. And the goal is to not use the waiver wire anymore. So we'll get into that. Yeah, yeah. Again, if he goes, he goes. I get it. I'd rather get something back for him. Um, we'll see if someone wants to take a chance on him at the draft. But again, waiver wire, sure. But now m- my counterpart, my counter action here is, I don't think Maggio or Dufour are ready to take over a role. Maybe Jeffries, and again, Wallstrom may end up being a training camp answer. Um, If they really like what they see out of some of the other kids, then maybe Wallstrom becomes expendable. That might just be the way it goes. So no, I think you guys are all right. Um, Maybe Wallstrom with clear waivers. Imagine that. No, Wallstrom isn't considered. Dufour is not considered a long shot. He did have a tough season. He had some family issues going on, and when I was watching him play, and I believe Brian can probably back me up on this one because I think he's seen this too. Uh, Dufour was looking up at the ceiling a lot after hitting a shot, and it was either a glove save or he rang off the post or whatnot. Dufour's shot is there. It just wasn't going in for him. And I think that was a season where he's not used to that. I don't want to say he pulled a Sorokin, but he was playing at a time where things just weren't going right. And he was looking up at the ceiling a lot. Um, so I think he has the tools. Everything's been getting better. I wouldn't be upset if he was a call up towards the second half of the season. I'd be all right with that. I think he would look much better than he did his first game as a New York Islander. There's been a lot of growth since then. Um, but yeah, give Dufour a little more chance, a little more time. Plus, in all honesty, the Bridgeport Islanders did not have a lot of offense at all. So adding a little more offense will help out Dufour greatly. Um, Joking about what? Bye bye. Yeah, probably Aho. Yeah. Bull Duke. See, this is a big one, boys and girls. I don't think the Islanders are going to trade Samuel Bolduc. I know they're kind of high on him. Mike Riley, I don't know if he would hinder Samuel Bolduc, but you got to remember, if Sebastian Aho goes at any time, you've got Samuel Bolduc who can basically replace his numbers and Aho's goals. So you're looking at 4 goals. Can Samuel Bolduc score 4 goals in the NHL? Yes. Yes. I think for right now, Bolduc is the perfect seventh defenseman for his age. But at the same time, are the Islanders hindering him by keeping Mike Riley around? That's the question. Um, I would say for sure one more season. But again, if Adam Pelech continues to get injured, then you can see, DeFore getting a lot more playing time, which is what he eventually is going to need anyway. But no, I'm still high on Bolduc. I think the Islanders are still high on Bolduc. There's still a ceiling to him that the Islanders he hasn't reached yet. Yes, a healthy Mayfield, no doubt. And now we have Florida up 2-1. Good. Ah, I was gonna joke with you guys on this one. At the absolute worst case scenario, and you guys are gonna hate me later on, I know it, I'll get yelled at. And this is something Bo Horvat does not want, but at the absolute worst case scenario, if you were to move or if you were to pivot Wallstrom, Fashing, and Gauthier together on that right line, and then have them play with Horvat and Barzell, you could still make up close to at least 15 of those goals that the Islanders are missing to get to close to the mid 250s and 260s. You really could. Um, they can score. Fashing is not a top six. We know that. But Fashing's got some speed. Julian Gauthier, I don't know what the Islanders are going to do with him. I don't know what Patrick Waugh wants to do with him. But from a goal scoring perspective, could the Islanders reach 15 goals minimum with those 3 players on the top line? Yeah, they could. That's the absolute worst case scenario. Do the Islanders trade their first round pick? I'm for right now, as of this conversation on this show, I'm going to go no. I'm going to go no. And the reason why is there's got to be a decent trade package. There's got to be value coming back for this team. There's got to be bigger value coming back. If we're all going to trade Gigi Pageau's going to help that other team, third line center role, good on the faceoffs. What are we getting back in return? There's a first round pick that at some point will be good in 4 years. There's got to be a value to that. And if again, like I said, if the prospect rankings move up, a couple of players move up, there's more value to that pick. So for now, we don't know the value. We don't know what other teams are doing. It takes two to dance. We know that. Tough to call right now. Give it another 6 weeks. We'll get to that later. What's going on? A little late. That's okay. Yeah, Barzy wanted to play left wing. Yep. So we'll see what happens. Snow loved the waiver wire, and for good reason. And for all of you for this season, you better love the waiver wire for this season too. Reporters love Maggio. They think he's a shot to make the team because of talent and high hockey IQ. Hustles, play bigger than he is, fits that WA one. They're also playing into what the fans want, which is to get absolutely younger. They're not completely wrong with what he's saying. Yes, Maggio does have a shot, but Maggio is improving as the second half of the season was progressing when there's no pressure. You want to put prospects under the pressure cooker. You want to know how they react. You want to know how they do. Okay. Skill and talent aren't always enough. The Islanders barely get out of the first round of the playoffs every year except for the COVID series. Why? Because the Bridgeport Sound Tigers or the Bridgeport Islanders can't get themselves out of the first round. There's another level that the Islanders organization needs to hit. You just can't bring kids up anymore. They have to earn it. It's that simple. If you want to raise expectations for this team, start at the bottom. Let these kids earn their way. Look at what Kyle McLean did. He's the perfect example. This kid earned his way through, and look, he willed himself into the lineup. Fans absolutely love him for that. Let the other prospects do that. That's a possibility, Ryan. A little bit more with Wallstrom on the details like that, but I like that. He's close. He's close. I think he still has a better chance than Bellows, and Bellows even had a great American Hockey League career this year. Yeah. I know you guys are more sound on Aho, but Marshall Warren, the college player that the Islanders just signed, he's Aho's replacement. Only you can send him back and forth to the minors uh, whenever you want. But we'll get into the college free agents later on. I think Wild likes Bolduc as well. I think he's definitely going to have time for Bolduc. No, he's not showing a lot of NHL promise. Believe it or not, Justin Gill's team, along with the London Knights, Isaiah George, those teams were actually favored to win the Memorial Cup. They're in it. They are where they are supposed to be at this moment. Um, Justin Gill, I think, is going to be a very good Bridgeport player. He's going to have to show a little more if he wants to make it to the big club. Yeah, good skill set. Look, don't get me wrong. I would love the idea of Jeffries, Gill, and Dufour on a line together for Bridgeport next season. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm all for that line. Yeah, and you know what? The one thing Bolduc really liked about Bortuzzo, and I know he said this somewhere, um, they were the communication between Bortuzzo and Bolduc was what Bolduc was really hoping for. That's what he really liked. There was a lot of communication on the ice. So I don't know what happened with the other defensemen, but it Waz got to take that under consideration here. Make sure Bolduc is still learning and playing at the same time. There's got to be communication going there. Oh, Jim, you got to hit that nerve, bud. I think Jim's been watching this show for years. He knows Nikolai Ehlers has been one of my favorites. Ah, I I don't know if Ehlers. I don't know who we would trade for Ehlers. I know this first round pick probably wouldn't be enough, and I don't know who or what, but Nikolai Ehlers on this team, yes, please. Yes, please, 5 years ago. Yes, please, 6 years ago. You know, some of you are becoming the illegitimate children of Mike Milbury. Stop rushing the prospects. They don't have to come up at all. If the team is that healthy and they're succeeding for the most part, they don't have to bring up the kids yet. Some of you are the illegitimate children of Mike Milbury. Stop. There's no need to bring up the kids early just yet. Yeah, I hope we see more McLean jerseys. That's fine. They're going to go. Nikolai Ehlers? We pretty much have that already. No, you don't. You put Nikolai Ehlers with Barzell and Horvat? Oh, oh, oh. He doesn't have to get the 30 goals. You don't get it. Nikolai Ehlers fits Patrick Watt's system like to a T. Nikolai Ehlers can put in 20 to 25 goals for all I care. he'll get Bo Horvat to 40, and he'll have a better he'll be a better defensive wing than Matt Barzell. Oh, absolutely. No, I mean that's just part of the business. Firing John McClain with his son, it's part of the business. We got to make up for Dal Cole. Believe it or not, Jim, I'm going to cover that next week. On next week's show, I do an outside of the box version of the Islanders core, and it's not the same as everyone else does, but it kind of makes sense into what the Islanders need to look at this coming offseason. It also kind of looks into what the Islanders need to draft in terms of positioning. So that's going to come up next week. Um, and then the following weeks, we're going to get into the European players. We're going to get into the junior players. I may do a separate section on the show, excuse me, on the college players, and we'll get into Bridgeport as well before the draft. And as each week goes by, I will have a better idea as to who might be available at number 18 as the combine gets through, as some of these other prospects move up in their rankings, who slides down, who's a red flag, who's someone to watch. I'll get into all of that. But next week, for the Islanders specifically, I'm going to go into my out of the box core. And that's going to give you guys a better idea of what the Islanders really need to look at moving forward, especially into the draft. Our defense, what prospects? Bridgeport prospects? If we're talking about Bridgeport, I do like Aiden Fulp. He's a right-handed defenseman, a little bit of a project, but if he can put it all together soon, oh boy, I'm a little high on Fulp. I like the way he plays his game. Doug Huda, we'll see. I think out of the two, I don't think Huda comes back. Do I like the defensive prospects? Yes, I do like the defensive prospects. Listen, they are who they are going to be. They're nothing spectacular. Um, you know, some of them do show promise, but that's who they are. That's where they're supposed to be at this point. When you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year olds, you got to say, are they playing well for their age? And if the answer is yes, that's all you want. What you want to see after that is how well they do professionally, whether it's Worcester, whether it's Bridgeport. Okay. I don't put a lot of stock into junior players or even in Europe during the regular season. I do look some of the numbers, how do they play, back to back games? How many minutes a game are they playing? I look at some of that. I go a little deeper. Um, but for me, the defensive prospects for right now are good. Do I think they're making the Islanders anytime soon? No, I don't. They shouldn't. Might take a Brock Nelson package. I know you guys are so obsessed with trading Brock, and you know what? I'm gonna get into that as well. This is also going to be for my younger Islander fans. We're going to go down Islander history, and we're going to cover why some fans right now, and we'll call them older fans, want to trade some of these older players before they just before the players, reason. What's the word I'm looking for? Before the players start, before the players' value comes down. We're going to get into that as well next week. No, Gensel's looking for 965 guys. Jake Gensel, Jake Gensel's looking at like 9.6. Forget it. Thank you. Thank you. Not that I'm looking to like build my head up here, but man, he was there. Yeah, and again with Dal Cole, guys, I know everyone's gonna you know poo poo on him, but If the Islanders didn't draft him 4th or 5th, he was going in that next round. He was that next pick. He was like 6th or 7th. I know. DeBrusk, Ehlers, for me, yes. I think DeBrusk, from what I'm hearing, is going to re-sign in Boston. Ehlers, I didn't even know Ehlers was available. And that's true. Defense always takes longer. Always. Yeah, they need to, no, I agree. They need to get good. But again, Patrick Waugh's system was showing that it was working. Okay. Out of those 20 games that, the Islanders kept the other teams at bay with 3 goals or less. That record was insane. 17-1-2. 17-1-2. Patrick Waugh's system, at the very least, is working. You got to give him whatever summer he wants to with some of the players, whatever system he wants to implement, give him a full training camp. Look, I can't see the Islanders missing the playoffs unless they absolutely implode. Brady Shea, right or left-handed? I'm not against that. No, no, and I don't understand this, David. 22-year-olds do not win anything except another draft lottery. Sorry. And I'm going to explain that in deeper detail next week when I go over the court. Okay. And I'm going to show everybody why it's a bad idea to just dump everybody, the older vets. It's not going to work. The Islanders will literally be in NHL purgatory, aka the draft lottery, for years with no guarantee of getting out. Yeah, I think Pesci's the free agent. All right, Randy's actually confirming with me. Gensel's on a $9 million a year. That's what we're hearing. See now, Jim, this is where I'm going to help you out here, bud. I don't know if Brock gets extended. That's going to depend on some of these other draft picks that the Islanders already have. If they're ready to go, there may be a seamless transition. But again, give Brock I believe Brock has 2 more years. Give Brock the 2 years. Let him earn it. Let's see what we can do here. Because I'll tell you right now, nothing would shock me after 2 years that Barzell becomes the number one centerman and Bo Horvat becomes the number two centerman. I can see that. Nothing would also shock me in 2 years if Alex Jeffries was the second line center. Nothing would shock me if Danny Nelson was fairly close to becoming a second line center. Okay. Again, in 2 years' time. For those of you who want to trade Brock, don't trade him just yet. But I understand why there's concerns over that. Correct. And Jeff, I'm going to get deeper into that, much deeper into that next week. 3-1 Florida. There we go. Someone's keeping up here. Forsling already signed a contract extension. Yes, I agree. If anybody, I'm rooting for Kyle Oposo. And there's a part of me that's rooting for Zach Parise of the Avs. What's DeBrusk asking for? Cheveldayoff blowing up Winnipeg this offseason? Probably not. No, they just got there. They just got there. They got a bunch of young kids thanks to Pierre-Luc Dubois. No, I don't think they have to blow anybody up. They don't have to blow up the team. If there's problems inside, they can probably get that fixed unless there are players demanding trades. That's a different story. Yeah, David. Yeah, and again, the numbers don't lie. 17-1-2. 17-1-2 when holding teams to 3 goals or less. 3. Heading into next season, let's just have some fun with this real quick. You're looking at the Rangers, Carolina, depending on what they do free agency wise, the Devils and the Islanders. Okay, let's put this into perspective, folks. Again, relatively healthy season from everybody. We still have some of the depth. The Islanders get their goaltending situated with the defense. Okay, they're giving up less than 230 goals. Call it 225. You get yourself another 20-25 goal scorer. The Islanders are still racking up close to 250 goals. You can't put them out of the playoffs. Nothing, Nick. I'm just rambling. I'm almost done. Believe it or not, Nick, I still think Berube might hit Philly. I think Berube would be a perfect fit right now in Philly. But that's just me. Ishakov make the big team next year? I'm gonna go no. I could be wrong. He could be the 14th forward. Um, I hope he is. Um, he didn't impress me during the playoffs. And again, it was fan appreciation night. I gave him that. I kind of have my own little personal conspiracy theory with the Shakov, but I'll keep that under wraps until news actually breaks out. I wouldn't be surprised if John Tortorella was accepted a position above and worked with Danny Briere, and then you bring in Craig Berube to play for to coach for the Flyers. Berube would be phenomenal for them. But again, does Berube want to win a Stanley Cup now? Does he want to go through that? Um, if I had to pick between New Jersey and Toronto, if I'm Berube, I'd probably go New Jersey. Yeah, and I again for me, Sorokin, tough year. I don't think I think that was just more him, too hard on himself. But we'll see. Chitrin linked to the Islanders. Is this nonsense? All right. It's water cooler talk. I'm willing to go for it here. If you guys have heard trade rumors of Jacob is it Chitrin, right? What's the trade proposal? Who's going the other way to Ottawa? Got to be Romanov. You're not taking Pelech. Why would they take Pelech? Pelech's got head injuries right now. And Ottawa's nowhere near a Stanley Cup, so they're not taking Pelech's contract to use as LTIR to get them over the cap. We'll see. We'll see. I think you know what it is, John. I think they're kind of hoping he can pull some magic like he did up in Vancouver. Not necessarily in Jersey, but up in Vancouver. Pajot in the first for Chitrin? Not in this draft. Uh-uh. That's larceny. Whew. For Chitrin? You guys are gonna hate me, but if that trade was pulled off, give Lou a lifetime contract. Oh my god. Ah, Brady Kachuk. Who do they want? Pajot, Wallstrom, first rounder. Okay, still got to do more. I would imagine that would be this year's first pick, next year's first round pick, whatever. Excuse me. Sens probably want a top forward. That's true. Yeah, I don't know about Brady Kachuk. Duclair is interesting. I don't know if he's a first liner anymore. He would fulfill that 20 to 25 goal mark. You could. Does he fit Patrick Roy's system? Maybe. What's it going to cost the Islanders? That's going to be the question. And this is the other thing with the draft, boys and girls. I still think if you're going to acquire that left winger or right winger, depending on where Matt Barzell plays, I think it's still going to be through a hockey trade. I don't think Lou has deviated from that. I don't think Lou is lying to anybody about that. I think it's going to be a hockey trade. How about this? Duclair played for what? That's also true. That's also true. How about this? What about Max Domi? On the cheap, put him on the first line with Horvat and Barzell. Max Domi. Probably staying in Toronto. Maybe. He did play well for the Leafs. Max Domi would interest me just a little bit. Marco Rossi. He's a rookie, isn't he? Oh man. He's staying? Crap. Just saying. But I like where everyone is going here. Anthony Duclair, Max Domi, even Nikolai Ehlers. There's a little bit. They're not big time goal scorers, but there's a little bit of a. There's more of a two-way game with Ehlers. There's a little more sandpaper with Domi and Duclair. Um, Tyler Bertuzzi, I was thinking about him too, but I need a little more roughness. I need a little more sandpaper. Imagine having another Bertuzzi on this team. Oh my lord! And I believe Todd is the uncle. Todd's his uncle. Yeah, connecting would be nice. I wouldn't mind that. That's a tough one. And this is why I'm also suggesting that the Islanders may take a look at the American Hockey League. There's a couple of players in there who probably just need a spot. Get them early. That's a possibility instead of waiting for the waiver wire. Sheldon Keefe is definitely on a hot seat. I don't know about Shanahan. Uncle. Yeah. Yeah. And again, sandpaper, a little bit of a finish. I'm all right with that. Okay. So, real quick, Isaiah George. Listen, Isaiah George is doing everything that he's supposed to be doing right now. Is he the best Islanders prospect uh, defenseman who works the transitional game? Absolutely. He's playing for a team in London, as I said before. London is favored to win, one of the favorites to win the Memorial Cup. That team is absolutely loaded with draft picks, loaded with stars on that team. I haven't seen him play a pressure game in a while. Okay. If there's anything from watching Isaiah George, I would put him in a Mike Riley mold. Okay. But I think he's going to have his struggles like Mike Riley did. The Ontario Hockey League and then the pros are two different things. That's what I've seen. That's what I've learned. I don't want to build up prospects for you guys like that. I think, in my humble opinion, I think he needs at least a solid year and a half of defensive work down in Bridgeport. I think at some point he might get to be Mike Riley. But again, Mike Riley's now 30, really making his name for the Islanders. Isaiah George, I don't think it's going to take him until 30, but you got to give Isaiah George a little more time. Duclair would be 3 to 4 million a year. We don't really have that. Again, another deal would have to be made. Yeah. Yeah. Right now we're just spitballing. Right now we're just spitballing. Yes, he should be in Bridgeport next season. That's going to be his true test. And again, there won't be any expectations set on me because I always give those players that first year of transition. Marshall, so I believe he's re-signing with Vegas. I'm starting to hear that already. We'll see what happens. So again, the Islanders are only working with roughly what are we calling it, 6 million in cap space. You got a couple of kids that need to be re-signed. Maybe you get anywhere between 2 and 3 million. I think I think for Islander fans at this point, um, a trade probably happens. Will it be the first rounder? Maybe. I'm gonna go no for right now. I mean, unless you're gonna trade it to a team like Florida that doesn't mind waiting 4 years, to a team like Boston that doesn't mind waiting 4 years for that prospect to come back. Um, Vancouver would be another one. There's just some things coming around right now. We'll see. You know, any of those teams in cap trouble who are going to be playoff bound, the Islanders could do that. Um, in a package maybe. Yeah, I don't mind that either. I don't mind that either. But we'll see what Patrick wants to do. All right. So listen, we're at an hour and a half. This has been a lot of fun. Um, yeah, I'm gonna get into that sometime soon as well, Mark. Listen, this has been a lot of fun. Next week, uh, a little bit of an education for my younger Islander fans. As you can see in the chat room, we had a lot of trade Brock Nelson, trade JG Pajot, um, trade players while their value is still high. Next week, we're going to discuss why that became so prevalent. Um, and we're also going to discuss my side, growing up in the 90s as well, as trading away younger players when they weren't ready. And we're going to get into my out of the box philosophy of what a core really looks like. and we're going to try to bring a couple of generations together to see if we can find a common ground when it comes to prospects development and how long players should stay, how long players should go, and we'll go from there. And if we have enough time, I'm not going to lie to you guys. The European players will take probably 5 or 6 minutes. I may just do the European prospects next week as well. So moving forward, real quick, if you guys have not already, um, check out Christine St. Louis on Facebook. She does phenomenal work. She does Islanders bracelets. She does Mets bracelets. She can do Yankees ones for you guys as well. Men's, women's jewelry all over the place. Really good quality stuff. If you go on her site and type in ChristineSt.Louis.com, you type in Isles Talk for 10% off. You get the promo code there. You get 10% off your purchase. So please go on in, check her out. It helps us out here at Isles Talk, and you'll love the stuff. Absolutely. Breaking news before the next show. Well, you know what? Is it really going to be breaking news? I mean, Wah, Lou coming back. That's not breaking news. You guys been watching the show for years now. We've been telling you Lou was coming back. It wasn't news for us. Stuff like that. It's not news. I'll be honest. If Doug Huda remains as the defensive coach and John McClain is not the power play coach, I think that would be news. I think at this point, enjoy the summer, enjoy the spring, enjoy the playoffs. Watch these playoffs, especially that Rangers Carolina game. Because again, I think if the Rangers beat Carolina badly, like 4-1, I think you're going to see changes coming for Carolina, and I think that's going to be advantageous for the Islanders. So, all right, get it out of your system. Get it out of your system, okay? Kirk Muller, I know, lockout season. We're not going to dive completely into that, but we'll go over the core in next week. Big surprises in the lotto? No, not at all. No. And I'm happy for San Jose getting that first overall pick. They've never had it. So, good for them. So, all right, boys, girls, thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you guys next week when we discuss the core, and we'll continue on path for the draft here, heading into the draft in Vegas for the Islanders. So, everyone, good night. See you next week, and for better or for worse, let's go Islanders.